So, Ashley, to quote Judge Fleischer, how was jail?
Jail.
Well, you were gone. I heard you got picked up. Did everything go
Oh,
okay?
that's just a rumor, Dan.
Oh, are you sure? It was pretty
Yes.
credible.
No, no, no. It's just a rumor, and it's not
Okay.
true.
Okay, so everything's all right.
Yeah, yeah, everything's good, unless you want to think of it as corporate jail.
Yeah, that's a thing, actually, corporate jail. Oh, well, here's why you weren't here. You moved.
Yeah, I have a
Okay.
new bag. I have new stuff. I got my whole house refurnished and everything. So,
That
Wow.
explains it.
yes.
All right.
Look at that.
Well, welcome back to Ashley and whatever
Hello,
Michael and Bailey are
everyone.
here too.
Yeah,
All right. So welcome to Sidebar. So on Tuesday when we were talking, um, Bailey brought up a good point and a good idea. He was talking
Shocking,
about.
I know.
Yeah, Bailey had a good show.
He
So good he
did.
went out and actually had his hair did. And you look pretty,
Yeah.
Bailey. I like it.
Thank you.
It's very nice. But anyways, we were talking, and he brought up the idea of the attention spans of just people, but how, then how does that affect juries? So that kind of got us thinking. This is like a TikTok generation now, where everybody lives in these 10 to 60 second sound bites. So what does that mean in the courtroom? How does it affect a jury? How does it affect a jury pool? What does it mean for what a lawyer has to do on either side to get their attention? Are you even going to be able to get their attention if you present evidence? Are they even going to remember it? How does this all work? So, with all that in mind, we kind of decided to make that the topic for tonight, dear friends. So, you get to listen to us drone on for a good hour or so about people with short attention span, which is kind of funny because we're going to
The
spend an
irony.
hour talking about people who can't pay attention for more than 60 seconds.
That's right.
So, we'll see how this goes, and if it fits, I think we're going to have a lot of viewers, but our average watch time is going to be in the milliseconds. So let's see how this goes.
Right.
Bailey, it was your topic. You want to lead us off?
Well, if you've made it this far, you're in good company. So keep it up. Um,
Yeah, we're 2 minutes and 45 seconds in.
that's right. So, you know, those who know me know I'm a poli sci guy. That was my major in college. And as we were having our Tuesday discussion about the justice with regarding celebrities and how that can kind of get a little, my brain kind of fired off about like, wait a minute. What turns people on about, because Lindsay was bringing up a good point on Tuesday. She made a great point about, well, wait a minute, Bailey. This may be the celebrity trial, may be for some an avenue into law to trying to learn the systems. So just because somebody's into something that's maybe not my cup of tea, but it's sexy to them, at least that gets them through the door. Now, that got me thinking about our juries. Now, that's where I was getting a little worried. So, let me start here. We hear this phrase called a jury of our peers. What does that mean to you? If you're listening right now, think about that. What does that mean to you? Jury of your peers. I bet you can imagine a lot of things. And when those words were written and that concept was born, it meant something then, but it probably doesn't mean the same thing today, right? I mean, a jury of your peers? It's 2025. I think the iPhone came out in like 2004. The internet's been out for a long time. Social media, TikTok, Facebook, all of these things, right? These are now going to be your peers on a jury. The TikTok crowd, these people who perhaps may not have the attention span that is required of a jury excuse me, a trial that's going to may take days, hours. You're going to have to be looking at evidence, following storylines, everything, judging people. You're going to have to sit there. And mind you, when you're sitting there, you don't get to sit there and kind of halfway listen and be like, okay, and then go back to your stuff. No, no phones. What you're going to have is a piece of paper and a pen, and you can take notes. And by the way, I'll get to this point later. Those notes don't get to go back with you, bro. You're going to have to pay attention. You're going to have to listen and remember things. And that's what I was thinking about in the final moments of Tuesday's episode, was all those things, and it freaked me out. So I know how I feel about this, ladies and gentlemen, my colleagues on Team Sidebar, but I'm really interested in what you guys think.
Well, I think you scared me a little bit. quite honestly, because here's the thing. As I go into Judge Boyd. So, all right, here's the thing. I've mentioned it so many times, and I believe it, that any one of us is just a bad event or two away from being in front of one of these judges. You could easily find yourself in front of a jury. Even if you lead a good life, stuff happens. You just never know. But it is immediately frightening to consider the quality of the jury that we might have to deal with. You brought up the whole idea that they're going to have a paper and pen. I'm not sure some of these people can write. And that's not me trying to be mean. It's just facts. I mean, everybody's like this all day long. You put a pen in their hands and they freak out. When you brought this up the other day, it immediately struck me as this is a serious issue because this can get in the way of real justice. So, yeah, my initial reaction, I'm scared. How about you, Michael?
A little bit. This was all started because of our topic the other night about high-profile cases, celebrity cases, and, as we move into this... the era of the internet and the era of instant gratification. And, I brought up back when I was studying communication and media, they talked about how we were turning into a 60-second soundbite world. And now 60-second soundbite is like, that's just too long. I don't have 60 seconds. Like, people are just, now it's a 10-second soundbite or a 5-second, or it's, just tell me what it says. Give me the Cliff Notes version, and yeah, it is getting a little bit scary because if people, especially, and I mean, not to pick on Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and, but they're raised on TikTok. They're raised on Twitter and Instagram and where things and YouTube shorts and, those are all fine for entertainment, but maybe it does make for people that are less inclined to have the attention span necessary to follow a case. I mean, I've been on a jury once, and it was not some involved big time murder trial. It was just a theft case, and it wasn't even that intricate. It was just a couple of hours. But even a couple of hours, I think, to some people is like an eternity. So,
yes,
I do wonder the quality of jury pools. And again, I'm not saying that old people have a great attention span either, okay? But I do worry of a jury of my peers, the way that Bailey described it so succinctly, and also, with a very Alfred Hitchcock way of delivering it, I suppose. Like, I am a little bit worried about this going forward for our justice system, among the many other things that concern me about the justice system. If my case is real detailed, or they just are, is the jury just going to go, he looks stupid. He's just bald, and so let's just find him guilty. Like, I don't know. It's like, what detail is going to stick? And how does it change the way a lawyer presents their case? Do they, maybe lawyers should just present their case in like skits or something, like
Yeah, Michael, exactly. So that's the point I was going to bring up is it raises the question whether the justice system should adapt to a societal changes or uphold traditional methods. So I think that's where my mind went to. Should we adjust for these jurors or these younger people that are coming into the to be jurors, or should we uphold the traditional how we traditionally do it? And I actually looked up some information online at thejuryexpert.com. They were trying to answer the same thing. They also saw that um, ADHD and ADD are so prevalent these days, and they learn information or trying to focus for a long period of time because their thoughts feel cluttered and seem to go in many directions. They get overwhelmed quickly. Those type of things are problems that ADD, ADHD people have. I know we're talking about TikTokers here, but it's about the same line of thinking because ADHD and ADD people have a hard time, have a short attention span as well. And adding the question, they found that adding a question to the trial questionnaire of how they think they can, or exactly, please describe any problems, vision, hearing, medical, language that may affect your ability to serve on a jury, is what they put in that questionnaire. So anybody that had any problems attention-wise could respond to that questionnaire and say, hey, I don't feel adequate being on the jury because of this so-and-so a reason. So that's their way around it. And then,
Hmm.
so I don't know if that's a solution to the issue. Other people were saying that to modify the court process to make things shorter. But the problem with that is making things shorter, you lose relevant information. You don't want things to be one-sided. Each side has to
Right.
present their case. And if you shorten that, you might be affecting one of those sides in a positive or negative way. So those are kind of my points I wanted to bring up and wanted to see what you guys thought.
That is an incredible statement that you just made about how they're toying with the idea of shortening the process.
Yes.
Because we're seeing this everywhere because nobody has an attention span anymore. Like there's a pitch clock in baseball now to try to shorten the game there.
Just ridiculous.
They're taking auto racing and shortening down the length. They're Formula One, which is the most popular racing in the world. They're talking about taking the races down to an hour instead of 90 minutes because people can't seem to get through 90 minutes.
Right.
But that's like that's stuff in the grand scheme of things. Who cares? I mean,
Right.
it's entertainment. This is somebody's life.
Right.
And
It's a whole different ballgame.
The idea that we have to take something that involves somebody's life and cut it down to size because Johnny can't pay attention for more than 2 minutes.
But at the same time, Dan, short attention spans cause jurors to miss key details in technical cases. So it's kind of pick your poison type thing. Do you want to shorten it, or do you risk a juror not remembering all the facts in the case? So that's
different
it's
topic for
unfortunate.
another time, but this totally makes relevant the idea that so many people are pitching like an AI jury.
Yeah.
Right there.
Agreed.
Kind of puts a check in the for side of the
Yeah.
list.
It really does. It really does.
To maybe get us out of the Hitchcock kind of anecdote for you guys, for the audience. One really great function of the jury system is that they are being watched like a hawk by the defense, by the prosecution, and of course by the judge. So let's say you notice a jurist falling asleep. Often you'll see a prosecutor or a defense, depending on what side who wants to bring that up, and say, Your Honor, we have to approach about something about a juror who has not been paying attention for the last 2 minutes and has missed key testimony. I was getting worried about that, and then I realized, oh, Bailey, that's why we have alternative jurors.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, thank goodness we have that. But hopefully, and that's the other key function of an alternative is you don't know you're an alternate.
No.
I've been saying alternative, an alternate juror, an alternate juror. You don't know if you're going to be an alternate juror until the very end before you're going to go and deliberate. But yeah, if we get some sloppy kind of behaving jurors, or they sneak in a phone because they just can't get away from their TikTok, they can't get away from their social media, or they get caught, talking, like they just can't help themselves, then you're out. And because we are trying to preserve, at the end of the day, to give somebody a fair trial who has the right to a jury of their peers and to judge the evidence that's weighed against them by the state. And what worries me is, can these folks pay attention to the, like you said, Dan, somebody's life is on the line here. This isn't like someone getting voted off the island. This is
Yeah, the
somebody
thing
who might
with
lose their liberty.
the thing with voir dire, they have safeguards against discrimination based on race, gender, and protected categories. I don't think short attention span would ever become a protected category, but hopefully not. But
It will be. Give it time.
If Judge
Yeah.
Alito was alive right now, he's turning in his grave just by you saying that.
but I'm just
Excuse
saying.
me, Justice Alito.
If he were alive, he would be turning in his grave.
Excuse
I
me.
imagine he would be because he'd be trying to get out.
Yeah, he'd be trying to. He's digging.
Never a
Lindsay-
truer phrase was spoken than that.
Where do they bury the survivors?
You can never bury a contextualist conservative. Never. They never die.
And Lindsay brings up a good point. If each side was to present their key points, instead of having a whole drawn out process. That's kind of what I was looking up, Lindsay. But then you can still show favoritism to one side or the other. Each side would have to have like a certain time limit to present their case. In that kind of situation, I would think.
Well, what Lindsay's suggesting is a handout. Could a handout with each side's key points be a workaround?
Yeah, and that's what I also was thinking about is visuals, timelines, multimedia during court too. Maybe that will help people with short attention spans grasp concepts better.
You know where it's going to go if we do that, though. If we start giving handouts, the side that uses emojis the best will be the side that wins. It's
But
true.
you're probably-
I mean,
This guy
You're
has
right,
a
though.
knife emoji.
yeah, smiley face, stab emoji, heart.
Broken
Right.
heart. Yeah.
At the end of the day, though, we've discussed this before. The research pretty clear. I mean, judges, after interview that I've watched, they really do have faith in the jury system.
Yeah.
We've discussed this before. Like sometimes judges go back and talk with the jury, and sometimes juries go this way and this way for very different reasons. And they believe in the system and they tend to get it right. That's what the consensus seems to be. So overall, I enjoy the system. And that's where I'm kind of a half full guy at this. It's one thing this is how I test myself. I was like, Bailey, it's one thing for us to be watching a trial and then we're like wondering what the jury might be thinking. And because we're out here, we're watching this on a screen, but we're not in that seat, in that courtroom, in those four corners, looking eye to eye with the defendant that's sitting there, with the witness that's there. We don't know what it smells like in that courtroom, everything, right? And it's a beautiful system. And it's a very different perspective. My perspective is very different from their perspective. And if a lot of judges say, I believe juries get it right, then I'm going to kind of take their word for it and kind of cross my fingers that while we may live in this TikTok universe, this TikTok intention economy type of thing where it's really hard to get somebody to focus on something more than 3 minutes long, then, I still hold out that if you get on the jury and you're sitting in that wooden chair and you can smell the mahogany and you're looking eye to eye at that defendant and that state and you're there and you're taking up your time, your life is being taken away. Not your life, but you can't work anymore. You have to put your life on hold, and you might be even sequestered. My goodness, so I think they take it very seriously, and tend to, but don't take my word for it. A lot of judges say that.
I also don't like the fact that I know with the voir dire process that the jury system is designed to represent a fair cross-section of the community, and not just people who fit attorneys' ideal profiles. And I feel like if we're being picky of who has short-term memory and doesn't qualify, attorneys can use that as a excuse of getting somebody off the jury or something like that. So that's what also I was thinking about as well.
Let me offer a little more perspective to you, Bailey, because you're saying that you believe that the system works and that judges have faith in the jury and all of that.
Yeah.
I would argue that you're right, but you're right now. I think this discussion that we're having is a little bit more of a future discussion, and here's why. Two things to consider. First thing, TikTok is 9 years old this month. Wow. It was started September of 2016. So we're not even a decade into TikTok yet, meaning the age of people who were picking that up, like the 10 to early teens kind of stuff, they're just now entering the jury pool. So if there's going to be an effect of that short attention span kind of generation, it's just coming online now for juries. The other thing to consider is that the average age of a jury across the U.S. falls in the 40 to 55-year-old bracket. That's where the average jurist age falls. So,
for now.
But my point is that the people who are on juries at the moment are not as likely to be affected by this as the ones that are going to be there coming soon to a courtroom near you.
Right.
Yeah, the next 10 to 15 years.
So if you're gonna do a crime, do it now.
Yeah. Especially one with a lot of different moving parts and very elaborate. Yes.
Yeah, complicated crimes need to happen now while you still have a shot at getting a good jury. But I think you have to consider that we're not yet in a position where we're going to see the full effect of this attention deficit world, but we're going to see it soon.
Yes.
So I think you have to consider that. As it stands right now, it wouldn't surprise me if judges are like, yeah, the system works. Ask them again in 5 years.
Yeah.
I think it will. I think the court process will have to modify at least a little bit and give way to that newer generation eventually.
Yeah, give me the AI jury or the bench trial. I think that's going to be the future. Because,
or take more recess, or even take more recesses. I don't know what the proper. I have no idea.
Get them a playground.
Jungle gym.
The new one.
Yes.
Everybody go play on the slide
break.
for 5 minutes.
Okay, monkey bar break, everybody, and then we'll be back. And
Fidget spinners on the right,
a ball
PB&Js
pit,
on the left.
an arcade. I don't know. I'm definitely concerned about that. This is obviously a concerning thing. I kind of, Bailey is always the glass half full on this, but I really, he said, oh, the judge or the prosecutor, the defense will notice if a juror isn't paying attention. And sure, if they nod off, that's a pretty good sign. But I think there's oftentimes when people lose focus, it's not that they nodded off, and it's not that they are sneaking their phone in. It's just that their mind went elsewhere and they start thinking about something, whatever it is. And that you can't see that, generally speaking. You don't know when that happens. And they may kind of drift in and out. They may be in for some and out for other things. And then when they go to have their deliberation, somebody says, yeah, but remember when they said, and the other juror's like, nah, I don't remember that, man. Nah, brah, don't remember that, brah. You know what I mean? So and then it just becomes that whole thing. And look, dude, I gotta get home, brah. So let's just, how many L's in guilty? That's what I'm worried about kind of as we go forward too, is let's just, we're definitely in a don't bore us, get to the chorus kind of society now. They want to get to the point. They want things now. They want to skip to the good parts. I mean, I can't tell. Just the other day, for example, on one of my videos, I do the weather, and these videos are about 20 minutes long, and someone's like, I don't have time for 20 minutes, 10 at most.
Oh my God.
And
They would
I'm
hate
like,
this channel.
yeah, and that's exactly. I'm like, well, maybe
So much for long
my
form.
videos aren't for you. And I was pretty respectful about it. Normally, I would just say, well, there's the door. But I kind of was like, hey, man, thanks for the feedback. Maybe these videos aren't for you. But it definitely got me to think, well, maybe I should change the entire way I do my videos. No, it did not make me think that.
Well,
Lindsay
Well,
suggests they play it at 2x speed. They'll get their 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Michael, all they know about weathermen are the ones on TV. And
Well,
they
that's-
don't-
That's what I said too. I said
Yeah.
on the next video, I was like, well, we could just go back to the day where we're putting up magnets on the board and we got it all written in marker and it's just, Dan, they laugh like that, like I just made that up.
Yeah,
No,
that was the thing.
No,
Willard Scott.
That was, yeah. Locally here in Phoenix, Stu Tracy back in the day on Channel 5 when we first moved here in 1982, Stu Tracy is literally up there with a board with magnets and it's part of it's in marker and part of it's well done, well written out, but yeah, it's that's, and the weather on TV is 2 minutes, and and then nowadays we don't have the in-depth news coverage. It used to be we had tons of investigative journalism, and we used to have these long, in-depth stories, and very rarely does that happen anymore. And it's a function of the changing nature of society. And Dan earlier said, "Oh, now we have the pitch clock in baseball," which, by the way, is stupid. I'm sorry, hot take. I know most people like it, but I don't. I think it's totally changed the game. It's ruined the game. I don't care what anybody else says. You can call me an old stodgy person. I bring it up because you can say that's just entertainment and it doesn't matter, but actually it is a function of how society is changing and how society wants things now, fast. I mean, they want to institute rule changes, all over the different sports to speed up even stuff like the NFL, which, yeah, it has some downtime, but I would hardly call it a sport that moves at a baseball pace. And I just, it bothers me that we become like that. And if we're taking that and putting that in our entertainment, imagine what we're doing elsewhere too. So, I don't share Bailey's optimistic view, unfortunately. And I think Dan has this more right that, that's maybe how it is today. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, sign me up for the AI jury.
You can imagine how it's going to be like, though, if you look at the schools and how classes are structured these days now, especially elementary, middle school, even high school. They're all different than when we used to attend. They're not as long. I know the breaks are getting out of control here in Georgia with how many school breaks that the children have too. So it's all part of the modification that is taking place.
So, pardon me for having a Judge Middleton moment, and when I was a boy, this reminds me of what happened when I was a boy. We used to call it, they call it year-round school now, but back then it was just school. And what you did was you showed up after Labor Day and you went till about the second or third week in June. And, but I mean, that's how it was. It was like you went 8 to 3, 8 to 4 every day. Yeah, now it's like, kids get they have half days every Wednesday. Mm-hmm. They don't, they have like weeks off at a time, and then just random days off.
Then they fill with social media and porn. It's like,
this is, but I bring, again, this is all part of a societal shift.
The bigger picture, right.
And obviously it's going to translate into the courtroom. We don't want it to. Well, okay, maybe some people do. I don't want it to. Not that I ever plan to commit a crime or be in front of a judge, but as Dan always says, we're one or two unfortunate incidents away from being in front of a judge, even if it's for something relatively simple. I don't want that to happen. But the reality is society is going toward a faster pace, just get me there kind of society. And I think that's a little bit dangerous. There's a lot of nuance, especially in court cases. Nuance is so important. And again, we're going down a deep rabbit hole. And we've lost nuance in conversation and debate and sane versus insane, as we've been talking about on previous shows. But it's now permeating into the court system. And I think that's a really dangerous thing when we're talking about people's lives.
Honestly, that's why I appreciate courts like Judge Middleton, the guy you were just impersonating there so well. Yeah. And I know that made Barbara very happy.
I know.
But that's why I appreciate it, is that courts like his are slowing it down a little bit.
Yeah.
And making it a little more human. And that's probably a very good thing, because I really fear that piece of the puzzle is going to go away. Because here's the thing. We're talking about jurors and their potential issues with attention span as we move forward. But what we haven't addressed is that same issue with counsel and with the judges. Mm-hmm. Because what's going to make them immune from it?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
They would have to.
It could be the same thing.
Well.
Like, you could easily have a judge and they're going, I ain't got time for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's going to happen.
And I feel like this, I think it was last Thursday that we were talking about the Zoom. It's kind of, that's part of the problem too, in the grand scheme of things. Convenience and the fastness, that how fast can we get through these type of thing. That attention span is not there.
Well, the irony here is
you don't think
that
so, really?
the irony is that we want to move through a lot of things faster, and yet the justice system, like court systems, it's never been slower in the procedural aspect. because we have so many pre-trials and we so have so many bond will continue. We have so many bond will continues and adjournments and set this aside for this and do this for that. But, you know, that's the one area where we should be speeding up. That's where the pitch clock should be. Not in how we approach a jury, not in how we approach presenting evidence in a trial, but in terms of, hey, can we get people so that they don't sit in a trial setting for 5 years for a DUI? Like, come on, let's move this along already with that part.
All right, Bailey.
I think that's the only solution, unfortunately, to people's short memory. Unfortunately, is making things shorter.
Bailey's getting frustrated. Speak
Go
your mind,
for it,
my
Bailey.
friend.
So I actually can't take credit for this. One of our subscribers, Charles Kinsey, said in Tuesday's show when I brought up this idea at the end of the show, and he made the argument, he's like, this is why trials are so long, is because we're trying to hammer into, let's say we do have one of these knucklehead TikTokers who just don't have the attention span or wherewithal or bandwidth. We have to drag this out. For you and I find it patronizing to listen to this. It's like, okay, counsel, I get your point. You've made your point. You've made your point, counsel. Okay. But they're like, no, we need another day of trial. We're going to call 2 more witnesses. And I'm just like, we get it, guy. We get it. Like, I'm ready to rule on this. He brings up a really good point. And I've never seen him in the chat before. I don't know who he is, but I thought
He's
made a
been
really
around.
good argument. I'm sorry. So
He's been
I
around.
thought he made a really good point. And you guys are saying, well, we should just shorten it or we should just go AI. And I'm like, no, I'm on this guy's side. It's like, you know, as much as it might be frustrating for us who are smart and we can like read through the lines and we like, okay, come on, we know what the evidence is. Like, we know OJ did it. Like, I don't need to the glove. Come on. This is why these trials are so long, is because you might have a knucklehead on there. And I'm
I
telling
don't know.
you, no lawyer is going to complain about that with lawyers' fees, right?
Well,
What do you do when there's 12 knuckleheads?
yeah, that's the
Well,
problem.
That's where we're heading. That's the thing.
That's the job of an attorney. That's the job, a trial attorney. Not any attorney, a trial attorney. And usually it's a team. There's always 2 people at least co-counsel, and one of them is listening in the background. I would love to be co-counsel. That would be a really good co-counsel. I would not want to be lead counsel asking the questions. I would rather be that dude sitting down there listening to you guys, because I'm really good about taking notes, and I'd be watching that jury and I'd be like, hey, watch out for juror number 6. Like, she kind of like scrunched her face for like 5 seconds when you said this, which is disgust. And so something kind of got her, so we need to get her back on track. You know
Never
what I mean?
too
So
late, Bailey.
that's what I'm
Prospective
talking
juror
about.
number 9. Have you ever used TikTok or YouTube Shorts?
Look at Lindsay's comment.
What did Lindsay
Oh,
say?
no.
Lindsay.
That's perfect. Thank
what
you.
What worries me is, Ashley, you might be able to back me up on the psychology on this about the TikTok kind of jurist
Okay.
out there. You know, a lot of young people.
Texting.
Dan was mentioning about this has kind of been a 10-year experiment about the social kind of, you know, attention economy kind of thing. I lost my thread. Help me out. 10 years, social experiment, the phone, juries. I forget where I was going with this, guys. Sorry about that.
Very good.
Well, I think Lindsay's comment, I think, just threw everybody off because it's so poignant, because that's where we're going. It's like,
thank you. Those who have grown up looking at this thing,
Yeah.
and this is like 99% of their social interactions with human
Right.
beings.
Correct.
I wonder if I was co-counsel, and as to Dan's point, there's 12 jurors of like TikTokers. It's a full TikTok jurist. They're all nerds and whatever. They got the little propeller on their freaking head. How can you read somebody who does not know how to express themselves in social settings? They might see something that is, I wear my FU t-shirt, and like all 12 of them are like, oh, I don't trust this witness on the witness stand. Oh my God, he's wearing the most offensive t-shirt ever. And it's not my favorite color. I don't like him. I don't trust him. And, or I'm wearing a political color or name or whatever. And suddenly I don't have any credibility because hashtag, I fall under this kind of hashtag, and suddenly I don't have any credibility. And you know what I mean? Like, we're judging people by hashtags instead of in the four corners of a courtroom. But I still believe in the whole thing about that. I was kind of being kind of sexy about like, oh, they smell the mahogany, guys, and they're sitting there in the wooden chairs and they're listening and they're looking at the person's eyeballs. And I really want to believe that, but now I'm kind of slowly talking my ass out of this guy.
Well, yeah, because you're looking at it from your perspective.
Right.
I keep it open mind. You know that.
I have many leather-bound books, and my apartment smells
I
like
want
rich
things
mahogany.
to be the
but
same. I do, but I just don't see it. It's just kind of.
Yeah.
The more and more of these we get in the jury, like Dan said, the harder it is to keep things the same, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Ashley, you're teaching people who are in this age group that's going to come online to the jury pool. How's that attention span doing with them?
Bless you.
I pretty much teach older adults, so.
Well, congratulations then.
Unfortunately, I'm not in that pool, but I will say I'm also on the flip side. I'm also a student. And
you're interacting with them that way then.
Yes. So they're bad.
Cool.
All right.
They use ChatGPT for everything, look up answers, things of that nature. They can't think for themselves, unfortunately. It's evident in the classroom. Yes.
So you're saying even beyond attention span, the ability for critical thought is missing.
Now I'm getting depressed.
Well,
that's why, Bailey. I said,
Dan, we did it. We did it, Dan.
Yay!
It is
all right,
depressing. It is depressing, but to give a little hope to this, there are some students that do still retain critical thought.
Right.
Just most of them, unfortunately, are on that TikTok bandwagon and social bandwagon that they can't.
Do we have enough of them to fill up juries? That's the question. Like, yes, of course, there's still people out there that are not, just mouth breathing and just talking with emojis and LOL and all that. But yeah, are there enough of them to fill juries and that want to be on a jury?
I'll say half and half, Michael. Half of them are pretty good, and the other half are not so bright.
Yeah, well, that's
we need
what
more
I'm
like a
about.
90-10 ratio, though, for society to really work.
Yeah,
not a 50-50.
Unfortunately, yeah, we're going down the road of idiocracy, I'm afraid. And I'm sure that they thought in 1955. I'll tell you what, this whole place is going firecrackers. I'll tell you this right now, though. There's Elvis with his gyrating hips. I mean, I get it, but there's a big difference between, like changes that were happening in the 50s. I'll tell you, people just watching that idiot, that tube, that moving picture tube all the time now. But now you can carry the moving picture tube with you everywhere. And yeah, you don't have to think for yourself because you can just go, hey, Siri, tell me the capital of South Dakota. And I'm telling you, that's the problem is nobody is able to think for themselves, which is maybe it's a subtopic of this topic.
Yeah.
It's not just attention span. It's the lack of critical thinking. And critical thinking is kind of important in jury trials, like maybe the most important part.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
In most jobs, and a lot of important jobs too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you. How long do you think it's going to be? If we're all in agreement that we might be in trouble here in a couple of years, how long do you think it's going to be before we see bench trials becoming more the norm than the exception?
5 to 10 years.
At what point are you going to get to the place where you may have better odds, especially if you're like legit not guilty, that you may have better odds with the judge?
I'll give it 10 to 15 years.
Generous.
I'll tell you what, I might be there now. Depending on the judge, I may already be on that, and the community that I'm in, especially if it's a younger community, I may want to just go ahead and roll for it on the bench trial.
Lindsay says 5 years. I'm kind of aligning with her.
My answer
Bailey?
is null, non-applicable, because it's not a proper question. I don't
How
think
is
it's
it not a
valid
proper question?
Oh,
Because,
you didn't use an upward inflection at the end of the sentence.
Oh,
because
okay.
like if I'm
How long
if
do you
I'm-
think it'll be?
if I'm
Is it
a
better?
defense attorney and like somebody comes to me, I don't care if it's now or 10 years from now, I do believe the odds of like, yes, I'm going to advise my client. I think you should definitely, if you want to go trial, the odds are better on a trial than it would be for a bench. If
Okay.
it's something simple, we're not talking about those cases. We're not talking about those simple, stupid cases. We're talking
No,
about
not simple.
like, a serious thing, like you said, like I'm definitely not guilty of it. I think the odds are still with a jury. Even if there might be one goofball on there, that goofball is probably going to get talked out of it anyway. Like, hey,
We're not-
goofball.
But
You're
we're
an
not.
idiot.
But we're not talking about one goofball, Bailey. The
No.
hypothetical that we're playing through this evening is what happens when there's 12 goofballs.
Yeah.
Because realistically, we see that coming until
We're
somebody
already-
proves it. Until somebody proves us wrong, that is the road we're on, and even you started to agree with us on that.
We're
So-
already at one goofball on a jury on average, or maybe two. I mean, attention span or not. I mean, there's always, but I mean,
Again,
like,
we're starting from the presumption that, okay, two attorneys couldn't do a proper voir dire and get a proper jury.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, but if you don't have the people to draw from, they can only throw out so many.
yeah.
You know
Right.
that. So
Absolutely.
they at some point they're going to get to a point where there's just no choice. This is what you've got.
Then I'll go to Mike's point. Then I think it's already happened. We're already here, and it's not a problem. So I'm going to go with Mike's answer.
I don't think that's what Mike was saying. I don't want to
Mike's-
put words in
Mike's
Mike's
answer-
mouth.
Worst.
Mike's answer wasn't that there wasn't a. You got part of it right, Bailey. The part is that we're already there, but my solution wasn't. Well, we're already there, but it's not a problem. Oh, it's a problem. That's why I'm saying we're already there, and that's why I'm already for. I said at least in some cases. I don't know if we're like totally over the tipping point yet, but you asking me, I think I would go ahead in most situations and take my chance with a bench trial, especially if it's with a judge like a McNally or some of these older judges that I know, or even Judge Middleton. I may make fun of him, but I'll tell you this. I know for a fact he would pay very close attention. That guy is so detail oriented. He could tell you what he had for breakfast in 1967 on January 8th. I mean, this guy knows, there's not a detail that doesn't slip past him. And that's what I want. So I think I'm already there in many cases.
I think we haven't seen the worst of it.
Oh, no.
So Wahoo just put in the chat, isn't that when the judge should step in and override the jury decision? That's not really how that works.
They can.
They can, but there are very specific rules as
Yeah.
to when that can happen and what has
it's
to
limited.
occur for it to happen. And
But
it's not just as simple as I don't like that.
but that's the thing too, and is if a judge has to do that, there's a pretty good chance then that we're already there, right? So like that's the other problem. If a judge is going, I don't think I had a competent jury, so I'm going to go ahead and find that you're not guilty because jury was juror number 7 used a laughing crying emoji and when they wrote guilty.
I hope there won't be Zoom juries.
Well, that actually occurred to me too, that it was worth discussing real quick, is when juries start zooming in, and
Yeah.
prove to me that's not going to happen.
I wish I could argue with you, Dan. I really wish I could, but
especially if it gets hard to find a good jury pool. I mean, that everybody zooms in for everything now. That
It's true.
I posted a short on it like an hour ago. We saw it on the live show where Simpson was blowing up at that one defense attorney, and it got so bad he like pulled the feed in the middle of his tirade. That lady that was going to testify, and this is what started the whole thing. She was zooming in from work. She was like she was a hairstylist, and she had somebody in her chair, and she's like, I can't talk to you for another 90 minutes, which just delayed the whole thing and blew everything up. But so, I mean, I guess my point is people are already zooming in from everywhere for stupid reasons, and it wouldn't surprise me if the jury got there too.
So I'm not wearing a hat just to be a goofball. I was actually putting on this hat because I'm going to put on your guys' hat. I'm going to be defending you guys for a moment. That's what I was going to do. You said with regard to the issue of bench jury, I'm going to defend right now why you should take a bench from now on. Okay? Often, and we've seen this, particularly in that trial, remember that guy was accused of doing inappropriate things with his daughter, but it was only one daughter.
Which one?
Right. He was found.
I know, yeah, for sure.
So,
but it's the one in Judge Boyd's court from a few months ago.
Are you talking about the one where we agreed that he probably shouldn't have been found guilty?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm with you now.
Correct. So I'm not. So what I'm saying is, I'm not even okay. So what we noticed was the jurors. Remember, they came back with a question. They were like, "We would like to see the transcripts." This is not the first time all of us have seen, in some way or another. Often jurors are asking for the transcript. Why? Because they no longer have their notes. They don't have their Les Grossman, who guarantees that they have DVR on location so that they can rewind the transcript. They don't have the luxury of rewind like we do. So when we're watching a trial, I can always go back to and rewind the trial, and I can go back and be like, oh man, I understand everything. But for a jurist who's been listening to a trial that might be going over 2 weeks, they can't keep track of everything, and they often ask for what? A transcript. And guess what happens every time? You have to go off of your memory and the evidence that has been presented before you in the testimony. That's it. You only get that. And so to go to your guys' point, I think I would want a judge to be making that kind of assessment, because I think they can absorb all that material much better than 12 knuckleheads. Maybe even if there's one that's on there, I would go with that when it comes to that kind of concept there, right there. Because you have to go off of memory, and I don't know. They have to go off their collective memories, and they're going to bounce off each other. But maybe that could be a good thing. Maybe that could be a good thing, that 12 people are actually like, wait a minute, actually, Ashley didn't say that. Michael did say that. But instead you have one judge is only one person who's like, actually, I think I heard this, so.
Well, in theory, a jury is more advantageous than a bench trial, but that is in theory, and, things don't always work in a vacuum, especially when you have societal changes. like we have now. And that's why, yeah, I'm saying, maybe take it to a bench trial. I mean, especially if you kind of have an idea about the judge. I mean, I would take a bench trial with most of the judges that we watch. Most.
And I hate being a Debbie Downer. A lot of the old school judges are going away now too. A lot of them are newer judges. They have mindsets, kind of what we will see in the jurors. So that's something to think about as well.
So, Bailey just brought up the idea that the juries have to do everything from memory. In this day and age, when a transcript is pretty much available instantly, it's not like somebody transcribing it from memory after the fact like they were doing in the 50s and 60s. They do their shorthand and then write out a larger transcript. Why can't a jury have a transcript? It's an official court record.
Yeah.
Why can't we make that change? Why can't we put that in their hands so short attention span Johnny can at least have something real to work with when they're back in the jury room?
It could
See,
be
I'd be in favor of
It
that.
could be inaccurate.
Well, so
could
could his
be
memory. What's your point?
Yeah, I mean,
That I would trust the transcript to be more accurate than short attention span Johnny's memory.
the official court record, yeah, for sure.
But you got 11 other of your friends in the room who can help you out with that.
Well, they're not my
Yeah,
friends,
11
number
other
one,
short
but
attention span Johnnies.
yeah.
That's the problem.
You're just assuming everybody in that is just
Yes, I
garbage.
am. I am.
Okay.
I'm assuming
Then it's
that-
always
that-
going to be crap, Dan.
I'm
That
ass-
model
I-
is
I'm
always gonna
sorry.
be crap.
I'm sorry. Look at society. Look at the direction that we're going, and maybe. And this isn't an insult or anything, so don't take it that way. But I think if you did what I do, and you did what Michael does, and you see how the media that we put out is consumed, you might have a different take on how people are trending.
Right.
was exposed
I
to
will
that.
say it's not, we're not where Dan says we are today, but we're going to be. I mean,
That's my point. Yeah.
Or
it's-
you have classmates that can't even understand a simple question that is given to them.
right. So that's what I worry. And again, this isn't, oh my God, Mike, Dan, you guys are so cynical. I mean, yeah, do what we do, look at analytical data and kind of analyze, how people are consuming things, and you'll start to see, oh my God, this trend is pretty alarming. Now, that's not to say that every single person on planet Earth is going to wind up being that way, but it is a clear trend.
It is, and I've got, I don't know how many videos anymore, well over 1,000, maybe 2,000, I don't even know. But within the first 60 seconds, half of your audience will dip. Within 60 seconds. Even if it's something that they're interested in, even if they're a regular follower of your channel, half of them will go. It's the attention span is just not there, and it's getting worse, not better. Now, I'm not trying to throw shade on all of society, but I'm a believer in looking at trends. I'm a believer in understanding the situation that you're in, and I'm also a huge believer in not waiting until something is a problem to deal with it. And when you brought this up the other day, it put it on my radar as a problem, because I think it has the potential to be. I don't know that we're there today. I think we can be there soon, unfortunately.
Right.
So the question is, do we wait until we're like, oh shit, nobody's got an attention span, what do we do? Or do you start thinking about it now so you have a way to deal with it? And of everything we've discussed tonight, I think one of the easiest ways to deal with it would be to just put the damn transcript in their hands.
Yes.
At least all 12 of them are reading off the same sheet of music at that point. That's something.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And here's the thing too. It takes, when you have a problem, we all know how slow everything moves, including the court system, and changes happen slowly, especially in this country. So it's better to start working on those changes now, because once it's a problem, it's going to take a long, long time to fix it. And that's going to be a lot of people that are going to be potentially getting very inadequate justice during that time. And I don't know about you, but I don't know how good I would feel about somebody that's up for a very serious charge that either is found not guilty because they just couldn't be bothered to pay attention to the details that may have made them guilty, or the other way around. They were clearly not guilty, but they were like, let's just go ahead and I gotta get home. I gotta watch Stranger Things, so they're guilty. Like, come on, man. That's what I'm worried about too.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah,
So,
all I can think about is the damn pitch clock now.
Yep. So rhetorical question to finish this off, and it's a
Yes.
rhetorical question because I don't think we discuss it, just think about it. You're talking, Michael, you and I both mentioned the idea of, do we wait for it to be a problem before we start handling it, right? How much of what we have in our world right now do we have because we ignored things until they were a problem? Just leave you with that thought, because this could
Great
be yet
question.
another one of them. Just saying.
Yeah.
All right, well, as per our normal arrangement, we solved nothing, though I think we did accomplish a lot by having a good discussion, and maybe we have one quasi possible solution, maybe, but I don't know if I have Bailey bought in yet, so I may have to beat him up after the show is over. But speaking of which, final thoughts, my friend?
It's always, I think what we do, I was reflecting on this last night. I said boiled down, I think at the very least, we demonstrate to those out there who watch us, this is how you have a discussion. This is how you have a debate. This is how discourse goes. This is how rhetoric is done. This is how argument is made. And notice, nobody had to raise their voice. Nobody got emotional. Nobody had to point fingers. And here we are, we're talking about very esoteric things about law, policy, like our thoughts about very things that impact people's lives. And guess what? Nobody had to be like, well, do you think this and this? Nobody had to do any of that kind of stuff. So what I love about this and what is so refreshing and why I walk off this stage with, after this show, this is what gives me hope. Tuesdays, Thursdays nights, when I get off, I have hope in the world. I have hope that perhaps in our juries, in those jury systems, I hope there's a Dan in there. I hope there's an Ashley. I hope there's a Mike in there. And Mike has been in there. Mike has done it. And I think those things still matter. I think those ingredients are still out there. Are they fleeting? Perhaps. Maybe you see a lot of it because of your business that you guys are in, and you see a lot of negativity, so you're exposed to a lot of it. I hope that goes away. I wish that did not exist. But when it comes to a jury, they sit down, they have to deliberate. I have hope that 12 people just like us who just met each other not too long ago, relatively, right? And we can come together from all walks of life, different stripes, different ages, different backgrounds, everything. And we still somehow make it work. And we make it Team Sidebar, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and we have a great time doing it. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
So basically, I think what Bailey is saying is that the four of us plus now Lindsay, so the five of us should just run the world. And
That's
everything
right.
would be okay.
That's right.
All right, just to summarize. Ashley.
Yeah, to piggyback what Bailey was saying, I think it all takes a discussion that we need to sit down and we need to just work things out. We shouldn't wait till everything gets bad. The whole world does that. They wait for the crisis to get bad and then they react. I think we should be more proactive in our society. And I think we should take things as they come up. I know that with the articles that I kind of glanced over, some people were already talking about this issue. So that's very hopeful, and I'm hoping that there's more discussion about this coming soon.
Mikey.
Having a runner on second base to start extra innings and the pitch clock is stupid. Period. I don't care. Fight me.
See Lindsay in the private chat. She sent something on that matter.
And short attention span bad for juries and justice. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have nothing more to add. I think you guys pretty much summed it up, especially Michael about the pitch clock. So,
and the runner on second to start extra innings, also stupid.
I agree. Basically, every sport I've ever cared about has been ruined, which is why I really don't watch sports anymore. So,
I love baseball, but man, that really was hard to take.
I agree. All right, well, we'll leave it there for tonight. We'll be back next Tuesday for this show, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll be back tomorrow morning, hopefully with 25,000 subscribers by then. Where are we at? We are at, well, it helps if I click on the right thing. We are at 24,965. I need 35 of you out there to hit the subscribe button. Please do it. I want to start the show tomorrow at 25,000. That's the goal. So hook me up, please. But yeah, tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, a half an hour earlier for channel members. So look forward to that. If you're a channel member, you got to show up because Lindsay will be doing her police blotter tomorrow.
Ooh.
So that's very important. So you can't sleep in, Bailey.
Tasty. I know. Yeah.
Got to show up.
I'll be
Don't big time it.
I know.
There you go. All right, we'll see y'all soon. Take care. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Everyone.
Bye.